Hey guys, Dov here with another battle for Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer. This time I'm going to be taking Durthu and the Tree Elves versus the Empire. This is Anti-Mage once again. This is from our last practice session. I told him to take more or less the same build that he took against my Skaven. I wanted to try something out with the Wood Elves here. Generally, the Wood Elves tend to have a problem with mass heavy cavalry builds similar to the Skaven. The reason being you don't have a whole lot of high mass units that aren't very expensive and squishy, so you tend to just get run over a little bit. So what can we do about that? Well, we've got some trees, Durthu and a tree men. We've got the Firebark Elders for the fire resistance, and just a body block with another unit of treekin as well. We've got two Way Watchers for armor piercing missiles, and plenty of Eternal Guards, and these guys actually have some chevrons. This is the main kind of experimental part of this build here, is having the chevroned Eternal Guards. In theory, Eternal Guards should be a unit that's very cost-effective to chevron. They're not super expensive. They're pretty cost-effective already. They have good stats. They don't have any special abilities, which is kind of one of the things you look for units to chevron. Like, you know, like state troops fall into a very similar category, right? So in theory, these guys should be almost as good as state troops, chevroned up. So they've got up to 53 melee defense here, 33 attack, anti-large armor piercing, without not the most weapon strength in the world, but still good AP values. As for the Empire, it's going to be Volkmar the Grim leading the way. We've got a captain on foot, a whole mess of state troops, some Empire Knights, and Reichsguard. And yeah, more Empire Knights out on the side. So not too much, no ranged component actually whatsoever for the Empire, other than maybe slinging some fireballs. But speaking of slinging fire, we're going to get a burning head coming through. Thankfully, the fire resistance for the Firebark Elders does help block some of the damage there from those Eternal Guards, but it does overrun a little bit and get into that second line there of the Way Watchers, doing a little bit more damage. And so far, just throwing all of our arrows at those Reichsguard. 5 units of heavy cav is going to be a lot for me to deal with. You can see the advance is coming. State troops and more kind of making their way over here. We're going to, again, try and body block as much as we can with these trees. So they come back, kind of interrupt these Empire Knights from being able to get a good charge in. Likewise, you can see over here on this side, we're going to summon up a Manticore, use some of the Way Watcher shots to go after those Empire Knights. Manticore, again, just another high mass unit that can come in and body block for these Elves and not get completely run over here. But over on the far side, these Empire Knights might be able to get into a position to come through. You can see we haven't been able to do a whole lot of damage yet to these Empire Knights. The Way Watchers, obviously, with their high missile DPS will be very good, but here comes a nice banishment. Even though there are some Empire State Troops here, this is great gold value for Anti-Mage here, as he just throws down a killer banishment right on top of my very expensive Eternal Guard there. That is brutal stuff, and then following it up with a very nice rear charge from these Empire Knights here. I do have my Way Watchers shooting over into that pocket as well. Meanwhile, in the front and center, we've got the Winterheart Guards, the Regiment of Renown. They are, I believe it's them? Nope, maybe just a regular unit. Oh no, it is the Winterheart Guards. It's interesting. I think their skin must be bugged or something. Anyway, yeah, they're fighting here. They're unbreakable, so they'll help this treeman kind of hold this pocket together. We've got nice, another nice Burning Head in the back line to do a bunch of damage to those Way Watchers. You can see the Knights are trying to do their best to collapse and shut down the archers here in the back line, which is obviously what they need to be doing, but Durthu and the Manticore are able to come in then and get some attacks in on the side. Same thing with these Eternal Guards here, but state troops rushing through now, trying to get in and occupy these Way Watchers. The Reichsguard and other units, the Empire Knights, they will get terrified away, but I don't really have the mobility to follow up, so they very quickly will just be coming back and coming back around. I have one unit of Eternal Guards relatively healthy here, but most of the rest of them are starting to get beat up. We've got a few more over here as well, but another nice flock of doom going to be tearing away some of those swordsmen, some of these Empire Knights as well, and my Way Watchers are basically non-operational at this point. We've got a handful of them, it looks like, that are still able to fire across the field there, but for the most part they are not online. That being said, we get Volkmar in a pretty good situation here, tied between a Tree Man and the Feral Manticore, able to do quite a bit of burst damage and start to pick that balance of power more and more in my favor. Keeping in mind, of course, that characters count for a lot, but you can see here this unit of Spearmen was relatively healthy, but just one big rear charge by a couple units of heavy cavalry, and that's pretty much it for them. And this is the Wood Elf problem, right? Like, even with the chevrons, if you get these units isolated and multi-charge like this, they're just going to fall over in a big, big hurry, but angry Durthus here. He is just furious about everything that's happening right now, throwing out Flocks of Doom. Gonna get another beautiful Burning Head, once again roasting out very expensive light units here. Excellent work, but at this point I'm pretty confident about my my chances of bringing it home. We've got a Lamentation of Despair there to clear out a few more of those models, and despite the fact these Reichsguard and Empire Knights are still kind of ping-ponging around, still mowing down various targets here and there, yeah, this is exactly what they need to be doing. It's just staying on the move and taking out these various targets. There's not a whole lot of them left, and I do still have, like, this unit of Eternal Guard, still 69 of them. Nice. And, yeah, still plenty of HP as well. Not for long, but thankfully they do have a couple of these treemen here to block some of that charge. They don't take necessarily the full impact of that charge, but even still, a very significant amount of damage there. Another Flock of Doom to try and tear away some extra HP, and yeah, Volkmar going down here could potentially be devastating. Once again, he is pinned in by the trees. Using the mass to body block him in, there's no way of him escaping pretty much between the tree kin and the two tree men, including Durthu, of course. That's going to be it for Volkmar. Of course, he does flaming damage, but the fire resistance of the Firebark Elders helps counteract that. We've got a handful of Way Watchers back from route as well. They're going to be throwing some arrows over at those Empire Knights on the far side. The Empire Knights here had been mostly cleared out. Yep, those Reichsguard are pretty much gone. One more Burning Head, but again, that fire resistance for my units, that Firebark Elders, so important in this particular setup here. Against the Empire especially. Obviously, against Bretonnia, the Firebark Elders wouldn't be as important. You could maybe even swap in regular unit of Treekin, try and go slightly wider, but certainly against the Empire, since they're one of the premier fire factions in the game, if not the best fire faction in the game, definitely want to have those Firebark Elders. And if you're planning on going trees against anyone else who can bring fire, it's worth it to have, certainly. Just in general, I think the Firebark Elders are a pretty good unit to have, because most people tend to bring more of fire against the Wood Elves. I mean, Burning Head's very strong against them, Fireball. Just the lore of fire in general is very strong, and so to be able to have that extra fire resistance to help protect your light units can be very helpful. But Sigmar's Son's going to be making their final stand here. We'll fast forward as they finally get mowed down by the trees, and that will be game. So a big thanks to Anti-Mage for playing with me there. And yeah, I think from a build standpoint, this is an Empire build I myself have had a lot of success with. I think maybe just doing some fine tweaking, I might try and maybe change some of the chevrons around on some of the state troops, maybe drop like one of the swordsmen, and upgrade this Empire captain to a warrior priest. That way you can get the Banner of Eternal Flame. In particular, just getting that extra fire damage for all these Empire Knights and the Reichsguard. That way, if you do manage to catch out one of the tree units away from these Firebark Elders and get a good charge, you'll do a ton of extra damage there. Just that extra fire damage. With Kindle Flame, of course, also very nice. For my side, I mean, the Veteran Eternal Guards with shields worked out okay. I still think it needs a little bit more testing before I really sign off on it, but it seems decent. Yeah, I really feel like the Wood Elves could use some more love, but that's a topic for another day. 103 kills for Durthu, not too bad. 46 and some chevrons for the treatment, as he was able to bop on Volkmar pretty well. And yeah, Way Watchers didn't get a whole lot of kills. One of them did manage to get 1 XP chevron, which is decent, but they're not necessarily just a distraction. They certainly are there to do damage as well, but they are a pretty big distraction. I mean, that's 2,200 points worth of elite archers shooting you in the face, right? And so you can kind of use that to your advantage, try and set up situations where, again, you use the Manticore, use the mass of the treemen and the treekin to block things up and really prevent your opponent from getting those nice, clean multi-charges, because that's really your biggest danger, right? So I mean, I didn't have any healing in that build. Certainly you could make an argument, maybe swap in a Branch Wraith, try and get some healing, but Wood Elves tend to be so narrow anyway. Yeah. It can be tough to try and afford even just something like this for 600 points. I mean, the Branch Wraith will do okay in melee. He's going to provide that little melee attack buff as well, but just purely for the healing, I don't know that this is necessarily worth it. But again, going back to the chevrons, these guys, they're pretty expensive. I mean, you rank them up all the way, they're almost as expensive as the War Dancers with Azrai Spear. But you can see their stats are awesome. I mean, 34-54 is very good. Maybe not the best for this price range, but the fact they have anti-large armor piercing, They've got really just superb leadership. 90 leadership is really, really strong. And granted, 803 is a bit, so I had them down to, I think, what was that, like 1 or 2? So like 740 to 780, give or take. Also reasonably cost effective. I don't know. With Wood Elves, it's just so often that these guys end up getting taken out so quickly that it's tough to want to invest in them. But by investing in them, you can make them last longer, which can be enough at the end of the day. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.